Japan isn't safe. Or at least, it's not as safe as you think it is. With a rise of a certain political party in Japan and growing anti-foreigner, anti-tourist sentiment here, if you still plan to travel or to live in Japan, there are certain things you need to look out for in order to avoid these dangerous situations. But have no fear, hold my hand, I'm gonna guide you through this so you can have the best time traveling or living in Japan. What is a butsukari oji-san? Butsukari oji-san are often middle-aged to elderly men. You'll find them in train stations, train platforms, or on the trains themselves, and their entire IO is to walk up and barge people with their shoulders as they pass. These people are the absolute scum of the earth. This action is very deliberate, and you definitely know if you've come across a butsukari oji-san. It doesn't feel like it's an accident, it feels like an intentional shove, an intentional shoulder barge. With the rise of anti-foreigner sentiment, it feels that more of these old men are targeting foreigners as well as their usual targets, which is women and old people. You see what I'm saying? These people are the absolute scum of the earth. Like all bullies, they target seemingly weaker individuals. Women, the elderly, even children at times. But it's not only women, elderly, and the young. If you find yourself perusing your phone while you're walking around a station, you could come across a butsukari oji-san who's going to shoulder check you as hard as possible. In your mind, since you were looking at your phone, you're thinking to yourself, oh, it was my fault. I accidentally barged into this old man while I wasn't paying attention. But that's not the case. They have purposely rammed themselves into you because they know they can get away with it. I've come across these old men before. I was walking around the station, glancing up and down for my phone, looking for my exit, and as I glanced up again, there was an old man about a foot away from me. He was clearly gunning for me. As I looked up and met eyes with this old man, he suddenly changed his course and decided to walk around me instead. But if I'd been looking at my phone for a few extra seconds, he would have barged directly into me. These old men clearly target people who they think aren't going to react. This is why you, as an international traveling to Japan or living in Japan, could be a target of these butsukari oji-san. They think, internationals here, don't speak Japanese, don't know the laws, I can shoulder check them and nothing will happen. These idiots are mostly active on train stations during rush hour, but honestly, you can find them anywhere at any time in Japan. So if you are traveling in Japan, you're living here, stay wary, stay on your guard, or you might get shoulder checked by a grumpy old man. They say there's an abundance of reasons as to why these men delve into this weird activity, mostly to assert dominance or blow off steam, blow off stress on their hard day at work. But either way, there are other ways to do it. Go and lift some weights, go for a run, have a cold refreshing beer after work, go home to your, I assume, sad apartment and go to bed. There's no need for you to be rocking around Japan, making life harder for everyone who's just trying to live here. Another reason they target people is bias or prejudice. That's why women and foreigners tend to get the bulk of the butsukari oji-san's era, I would say. Even then, with the current climate in Japan, you as a foreigner traveling in Japan could be the target of these people. So be very careful when walking around. Keep wary, and if someone does shoulder check you, don't be afraid to say something. What they're doing is meiwaku, it's a nuisance, and you can report it to a member of staff, a police officer, or someone in the vicinity that has some kind of authority. Hopefully, they'll check the cameras, they'll berate the man, call him a little shit, because he is a little shit, and you know, if it is a serious situation, if he's a repeat offender, hopefully something more will be done about it. We can only hope. The Japanese police are a bit iffy, but we'll get into that later in the video. If you do find yourself targeted by butsukari oji-san, the one thing you should not do is instantly retaliate with violence. Japan is weird, and if it's found that you're the one that escalated the situation, while the butsukari oji-san might get in trouble, you also might get in some trouble, especially being a foreigner in Japan. It's annoying, but escalating the situation into violence also accounts under the whole meiwaku, being a public nuisance in Japan. So while the old man's being a public nuisance, he'll definitely get in trouble, but as you escalate it to violence, you'd probably also get in trouble. However, in saying that, you can bring noise to the situation. Raise your voice, point him out, say, hey, this guy bumped into me, this guy's butsukari oji-san. People know what butsukari oji-san is. They'll go directly to the man, maybe someone will stop him, maybe someone will get the guard. But either way, you'll be able to draw attention to the situation, which will hopefully stop anyone that's getting targeted. And in best case scenario, we'll give him a nice fucking slap on the back of his head for being an absolute tool. I would also say, be very wary of your surroundings. If you find someone making a beeline towards you and it looks like they're not going to change directions and they are going to ram themselves into you, step out of the way in the last minute. Watch them fall to the ground, it's always entertaining. If you are physically strong enough and you're confident holding your ground against a middle-aged to old man coming to ram you, I would shoulder check them back. that's always an option. I've heard stories in Japan where internationals are being targeted by Butsukari Oji-san. Because the international looked weak, the old man assumed he was weak and went to shoulder barge him. However, this old man didn't know what a stealth build was and ended up flat on his ass. Stay vigilant when traveling around Japan. If you do need to look at your phone, I would always suggest moving to the side, moving to a corner so you're not in the way while checking it, just so you're not being targeted by the sad Butsukari Oji-san. Staying with the trains, Chikan. Chikan or gropers have been a massive problem in Japan since I was an international student here more than 10 years ago. Since even before that, it's been a problem in Japan for a while now, and the Japanese police and Japanese government don't seem to know what to do about it. The most they did recently was put up signs that basically say groping is a crime. Like, yeah, we know it's a crime. They know it's a crime. They're not doing it because they don't think it's a crime. They're doing it because they're the scum of the earth. And with a rise of international tourists coming to Japan, tourists are also getting targeted on trains. This is disgusting, and if you're a victim of a groper, what do? Make it everyone's problem. I can't stress this enough. This isn't something to be done in silence. The man doing the groping is hoping the person they are groping isn't gonna make a sound or isn't gonna make a big fuss about it. Japan is very weird in that case of they don't want to be the center of attention, they're gonna be very shy about it. A little bit of an old way of thinking, but Japan still has that idea of like, don't want to be meiwaku, don't want to be a nuisance in public, don't want to bring too much attention to myself on the trains. Very shame-based in nature. So if you're a person getting groped, occasionally they can feel like it's their fault as well, which is absolutely horrible. But that's what the groper wants. They want the victim to be silent and maybe go to the police afterwards. Japanese police are notoriously useless, and thus the groper is just going to run free. And this is why you make it everyone's problem. You grab his hand, you make a lot of noise, you bring attention to the fact that this man has just committed a crime. He's going to try to run off the train to escape from the station. Don't let him. Scream after him, bring attention to yourself and the person fleeing the scene. Make it everyone's problem. That is the only way to deal with these people. In regards to preventing these crimes from happening, the Japanese government and the Japanese police don't seem to be putting a great deal of effort behind it. The fact that the police and the government are so useless has led to an increase in vigilante justice among Japanese people. A few YouTubers and TikTokers have taken it amongst themselves to pitch themselves in areas where groping, upskirt photos, that type of sexual crime seems to happen, and they're filming themselves finding people doing those crimes and then chasing after them, capturing them, holding them down, and calling the police to basically arrest them. And the fact that normal everyday people are having to resort to vigilante justice to get these people arrested is absolutely disgusting. And it just shows how much effort the Japanese police aren't putting into preventing any of these crimes from taking place. So if you're an international person coming to Japan, be vigilant. Upskirt photos, messaging on trains, this stuff is still happening in 2025 Japan. It is absolutely disgusting and something the Japanese government and the Japanese police need to start getting in control of as soon as possible. These are slip a drug into your drink and you've woken up with a 20 million yen bill for some random bar in Shinjuku. This is a classic scam. It's been taking place since the beginning of time and it's still taking place in 2025 Japan. Here's how you prevent it from happening. If you are in Shinjuku or Shibuya and you're walking around and a man with a sign comes up to you and says, "Hey, great izakaya around the corner, great bar 2 streets down from here. Do you want to come with me and I'll take you to this bar, I work for the bar?" You say no. You just say no. Especially if you're an international traveler traveling by yourself. Doubly so if you're a man traveling the country, traveling by yourself. They tend to target men who are traveling alone because they can drug them, take them back to the bar, which is normally like a girls' bar or some kind of like a hostess club, get them drunk, slip something into their drink, and then give them a bill at the end of the night for millions and millions of yen, basically. Thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not worth it. Don't follow any of these people. For the longest time, this was kind of contained in Shinjuku or Shibuya. If you were tricked into going to a bar by one of these people, you'd wake up with a fat bill and a massive hangover. Recently, more and more foreigners have been targeted in clubs as well as the streets of Japan. We can't be sure if the clubs themselves are in cahoots with individuals who are coming in drugging people, or if individuals just coming in and bringing in the drugs themselves, but either way, it's slowly becoming more and more of a problem in Japan. Especially considering internationals coming to Japan do want to engage in a little bit of nightlife while they're here. These individuals mostly folk around Shibuya and Shinjuku, with a massive influx of them in Shinjuku. Be very wary of people handing you drinks on the streets, handing you drinks in the clubs. Don't follow anyone to any strange bars, especially with grand tales of super cheap all-you-can-drink menus and such. Those are generally a scam. If you want to know some super cheap izakayas that have really cheap all-you-can-drink menus, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make an entire video about my favorite cheap izakayas that have authentic Japanese food and also all-you-can-drink menus. I've spoken about the Japanese police not being very good in Japan, and that's because they're not. They are pretty subpar. The vast majority of Japanese police aren't really solving crimes. They're riding around their bikes, they're guiding people from one station to another, they're taking reports and then filing them in their desk drawers, never to be seen again. And that's just kind of how most police operate here. It's very much a keep the status quo how it is, while ignoring all the shit beneath it, basically. But if you do find yourself in need of the police and you have to file a report, what do? Well, the vast majority of us would go to the Koban and you'd file a report there. But in actuality, that's probably the worst place you can go. The Koban don't really do anything. You can go there and file a report, and the report will sit there forever. If you want actual motion to happen with the report you file, you have to go to the actual police station, the main police station of the area that the crime happened in, not the Koban. While the police that sit in the Koban are actual Japanese police and have the power to do police work, they just don't do it. They're the Japanese equivalent of mall cops. They're there to kind of intimidate the locals into not doing crimes, but if a crime is committed, you bet their ass they're gonna do nothing about it. Well, they'll write a report and they'll go, very good. Or they'll try to persuade you not to write a report. And although that does sound weird, the Japanese police persuading you not to write a Japanese report, it happens more often than you think, and it's absolutely disgusting. Japan is probably safer than your home country, so when you do travel here, you find yourself letting your guard down. And while I say that's perfectly okay, let your guard down, relax a little bit, be wary of your surroundings, know what locations you're finding yourself in, and don't get scammed or tricked while you're traveling or living in Japan. Because yes, while Japan is safer than your home country, it's not completely safe. There's no such thing as a paradise. But guys, I'ma love you and leave you there. Leave a comment in the description down below if you're traveling or visiting Japan in 2025. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Every little helps on this journey to 10,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.